Our selection for today will be Steal Away. the way home. I ain't got long to stay here, long to stay here. I ain't got long to stay here. Ain't got long to stay here. Long to stay here. Long to stay here.
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him, and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Snow Mountain, Georgia. As we know, we are getting closer to our holy day of Passover that Yahweh has given unto us. When we deal with the things that we know is important unto Yahweh, then those things at some point have to have some kind of importance unto us in our lives. We can't just continue to operate in kind of whatever it is we want to do, which is how we began. This is how we grew up learning things, that we had our own personal Savior, and that he wasn't anybody else's Savior, just ours. And we could basically deal with that however we wanted to deal with that. That even in our personal relationships, we see that doesn't pass the smell test. If you're in a relationship with somebody, sooner or later, you're going to find yourself dealing with some of the things that they like. And eventually you will find yourself liking those things. At first, you didn't want to deal with them. And I knew absolutely nothing about Yahweh's holy days until I came into this faith. And now they are some of the most important things, in my life. Because I know now that it means something to Yahweh. It is important unto him. And how can I say that I love him and I can't deal with the things that are important unto him? And this is step number one in dealing with a relationship, which is funny, because not knowing any of these things before, that's all we talked about was a personal relationship. And we actually disobeyed step number one of a personal relationship. We had absolutely no knowledge or love for any of the things that he loved. And we have to consider those things. But if we really look at it and examine it, he has put all of those things within our regular everyday lives so that there is some form of understanding of the relationship that we're supposed to have with him. So when, all of us, go home and we have something we want and we pray about that particular thing, and it never does occur to us that the person in the seat next to you is praying for something different. Maybe praying for the exact opposite of what you're praying for. You may be praying for rain. The other person next to you is praying for the sun to shine. Now, one want the sun to shine so they can, enjoy themselves and ride on their motorcycle. Somebody else wanted the rain because they're growing crops. Now, which one you think is more important? That the guy get the sun so he can ride on his motorcycle? Or somebody else get the rain so they can eat? Well, once you get kids, you start to get a little vision of that. As one kid wants one thing, the other kid wants something else. And here you go, standing in the middle, trying to deal with both of these kids, and one want to go left, one want to go right. Multiply that times many million, and now you have where Yahweh sits with us. So he has put some things in our way so that we will understand. And as we get deeper into things about our relationships, we will understand that this is a part of what Yahweh has for us. Now, as it is written, brethren, my heart's desire and pray to Elohim for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of Elohim, but not according to knowledge. For they being ignorant of Elohim's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of Elohim. It becomes very difficult to submit yourself to the righteousness of Elohim if we have our own belief and understanding of what we think righteousness is. His belief of what righteousness is eventually going to get in our way if we got ours sitting there. Both of them ain't going to be able to drive. When you get in a normal car, it's got one steering wheel. Now, if you get in one of those little cars when they teach the people who don't know how to drive, they got two steering wheels in it. Okay? But do understand, there's an override switch. So anytime the teacher believes, all right, they about to run into a wall, they can hit the override switch and take that steering wheel. But once you get out of training, it's one steering wheel. And we're going to have to figure out what and who is going to be the director of that ship. Let's begin today's sermon in Ephesians chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 22 through 33. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 22 through 33.
Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Adonai.
Now, I have listened to very popular evangelists say that they are reordering marriage. Basically, what Yahweh set up, they said that that's no longer so. That order has been changed. And you know what's interesting about this is we're reading this out of the New Testament. Now, the same people say that they don't believe in the Old Testament, and then they're going to reorder the things that's in the New. We must understand when we start hearing strange doctrine that this is not of Yahweh at all. This is some demonic doctrine. If you don't believe in the Old Testament or the New, you don't believe in any testament. This is how we set aside the Elohim, the righteousness of Elohim, and put forth our own righteousness. This is what I like. Go ahead.
For the husband is the head of the wife, even as the Mashiach is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body.
Now, the interesting part is as you keep reading this, he's going to give you a greater and bigger vision of what this is. But he's showing you the earthly representation as the husband is the head of the wife, even as the Mashiach is the head of the church. Go ahead.
Therefore, as the church is subject unto the Mashiach, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as the Mashiach also loved the church and gave himself for it.
If he gave himself for it, he put all that he had to try and save this church. He didn't hold anything back when it came down to trying to save this church. But that doesn't always appear the way people think it's going to appear. See, when some people read love, they think that that means, it's going to be, soft music and rose petals. It's going to be real soft speech. Ain't never going to be no bumpy road. And never going to be, some hardship. Oh, no. No, all that's in there. Because that's part of loving something so much that you want to save it, that you might have to get into it with it to save it. Which is the exact same thing that Yahshua did for the church. He loved it so much that he put himself in harm's way for it. Go ahead.
That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loves his wife loves himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as the Adonai the church.
Right. So, and brothers, we know we hear this. Matter of fact, we have a term for it. It's called the barbershop talk. When you go in the barbershop, it's always some dude arguing about his woman, always talking about what she don't do and all this. As soon as he leaves, he's going right back to that same woman. That he love it as his own self. So ought men ought to love their wives as their own body. He that loves his wife loves himself. You notice you'll never really hear anybody talk about themselves. They don't really go and make arguments. Man, I can't believe I was supposed to be here at 10. I got here at 10:45. Boy, I ain't nothing. But we'll talk about the other spouse. But we won't mention the things that we do that are not according to what's supposed to be done. Go ahead, brother.
No, I just wanted to say that verse that we read where Yeshua gave himself for the church.
Mm-hmm.
We also got to understand too, the husband is supposed to give himself his life for his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But when it deals with your salvation, there's a point where you have to draw back when it deals with your salvation.
Oh, we're going to get there, bro. We're going to get there. See, that's part of the walk. Knowing where those lines are. See? And this is why, as you read a lot of those things where it's talking about taking part in the Passover, you notice Yahweh says, when your sons see you and ask you, why you do these things? See, there are certain things that we were supposed to pick up growing up, learning where those boundaries are. But you have situations, especially in these later generations, you have men that were raised without a man in the house at all. So what that does is you don't know where the boundaries are as far as where the lines stop of being a father, a husband. That line starts to get a little blurry when you don't know what that is. But just like somebody had to explain to me what the holy days were. If I had grown up in it, nobody would have had to tell me, oh, this is Passover. See, if I grew up in it, I'd be like, yeah, I know. And then we've been to do this, and then after that, we've been to do this. Yeah, I know, I've been watching it all my life. See, that's what happens when you watch something all your life. You're not confused about where the boundaries are. Yeah, we're supposed to do this, but wait a minute, we can't go that far right there. That's why we have to do what we're supposed to do, because whether you know it or not, these children are exceptionally intelligent, and they don't say anything to you, but they go to picking out stuff, and everything you put in their way is affecting them one way or another. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 30. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
If two become one, we're talking about moving spiritually on the same accord. You know, it's like I always say, we don't have any problem becoming one physically. That's the easy part. Becoming one spiritually is something altogether different, where you move together. See, if the church is not on one accord, you got one group of people trying to do one thing, and another group of people trying to do something all together. They haven't become one. See, it takes more to become one than just hanging around one another. Go ahead.
This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning the Mashiach and the church.
This is a great mystery. So he uses all of the things of our natural life, the things that we're going to encounter, and this whole thing is about the Mashiach and the church. That he loved it so much that he did all of these things. And we're going to get in some of those things, and you're going to see exactly what my brother talked about, where Yahshua drew that line. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
And I know exactly what the brother is talking about, because you'll find people on both sides of the fence. You'll find brothers that'll go in here and read one verse that'll help them do what they want to do. And then you'll find sisters that'll come in here and read one verse and use it to do whatever it is they want to do without dealing with that in its entirety. It is a problem. And eventually you're going to see within this book that is hypocrisy, and Yahweh is going to deal with it. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3. See, whether we know it or not, these things go right back to our walk in righteousness. 1 Peter 3, we're going to read verses 1 through 7.
Likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that, if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
Your conversation is not just what you say, it is what you do. So if the man will be won by the conversation of his wife, the conversation then must be something that is holy. If not, then he's being won over in a vile way. Go ahead.
While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear.
Right. If there's enough godly fear of Yahweh, then there's some things that we just will not do. Go ahead.
Whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold, or a putting on of apparel.
Right. And of course, we're going to do these things. We're going to put on apparel. But that doesn't need to be the thing that really adorns you. See, we have to have a different thing that dresses us up. And not just what it is we wear. Because we can look very good on the outside and be absolutely horrible on the inside. This is what Yeshua said about the Pharisees. He said, you like white as sepulchres that are bright and gleaming white on the outside, but in the inside, it's a burial place. It's full of dead men's bones. So you're completely horrible in the inside, but you look magnificent. There's something wrong with that. Go ahead.
But let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Elohim of great price. For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also, who trusted in Elohim,
holy women who trusted in Elohim, go ahead,
adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands.
So they adorned themselves in that way. So this was their real makeup. So you find some people that won't walk out the house without makeup. He said, oh, this is your real makeup. This is the stuff that makes you look beautiful. Many a times I've seen a woman and said, man, she's beautiful. After seeing the ways of that individual and say, you know what? That person is not as beautiful as I once thought they were. And that works the opposite way. There's some people that I've seen and I say, you know, they all right. A month later, I said, man, she's beautiful. What happened? Different adorning. Go ahead.
Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master, whose daughters you are as long as you do well, and are not afraid with any amazement.
And when you talk about being afraid with any amazement, it is those things that end up causing us to jump off into other doctrines. See, we can't fully follow Yahweh in the entirety of the doctrine because there's some kind of fear of the wrong thing, and we're jumping off into other doctrines. This is why I tell people, be careful how you hear what you hear. Everybody with internet service and a webcam don't know what they're talking about. Go ahead.
Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
So then we have to look at several things. Dwell with them according to knowledge. What does that mean? Dwell with them according to knowledge. Then keep reading. Giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. So this actually is not dealing with the knowledge of whatever the woman has. This is understanding how the woman was put together and made. Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. See, this has nothing to do with the intelligence level of the individual. And that sometimes actually is what gets us in trouble. The more we think we know, the deeper we get in trouble. Solomon was the wisest man that ever lived. You're going to be hard pressed to find somebody that got in as much mess as Solomon. He's so smart, people coming from all over. I just want to hear him talk. Women just melt in front of him. He ain't even said nothing. He's like, oh, they gone. They can't even stand up. Somebody carry me out. His problem wasn't that he didn't have knowledge. He had exceptional knowledge. That wasn't the problem. Genesis chapter 3, and let's read verses 9 through 19.
And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam, and said unto him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked and I hid myself.
Right. Like we were talking about before, a child without any understanding will walk around in nakedness without being ashamed. Once that child has understanding, that changes. Go ahead.
And he said, Who told you that you was naked? Have you eaten of the tree wherefore I commanded you that you should not eat?
Imagine if your 1-year-old said, No, Daddy, I'm naked. Who told you you were naked? How you even know what naked mean? This child done been doing something they ain't no been doing. Why this child? You ain't supposed to know that yet. Yeah, you supposed to know it, just not yet. Something has happened here. Go ahead.
And the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And Yahweh Elohim said unto the woman,
Now, Yahweh is going from person to person. This is how we're supposed to deal with situations. And a lot of times we don't. It says make diligent inquiry. And what we'll do a lot of times is we'll talk to one individual. And what happens is normally that one individual is always the one that's talking. That's why you end up listening more to that individual, because they always talk. Have you ever stopped to go and talk to the other person? Yahweh shows us this is before any law. He's going all the way through and dealing with diligent inquiry. He's not taking anybody's word for anything. It's a bunch of he say, she say. Yeah. Let's go to each individual. That's how you root out a problem. Not just listening to one individual talk. You're never going to see the other side of the story. And some of them, you're not going to see the full side of that story right away. You got to let some things happen. I've had situations where one person was saying this and one person was saying that, and it's a bunch of back and forth. Give it a little time, and you'll see at the end of the day, both of them right. Yep, you did that, and yeah, they did that. But each can see what the other did, but neither can see what they did. Go ahead.
I just want to touch on the fact in the marriage covenant that Yahweh is starting from the head of the household, which is that man, and working his way down.
Right. Everything starts that way, and even when it deals with righteousness, and even when it deals with righteous judgment. So when it comes time to get the whooping, I tell brothers, don't be afraid to be manly then. You was beating on that chest a few minutes ago. Keep beating on it. Because when he come, you the first one he want to talk to. Tell that brother I need him to come out here. Who you want to talk to me for? I ain't did nothing. Yes, you did. It happened in your house. Come on. Didn't it happen in your house? All right, well, come on out of here then. Keep beating on your chest too, all the way out. Come on.
Verse 13. And Yahweh Elohim said unto the woman, What is this that you have done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat.
Now, this is the part where it's talking about dwell with the woman according to knowledge. Understanding that this man was not deceived. He made a decision. And when you deal with it, most of the times, this is what we do. Still, we make a decision. We're not necessarily deceived. We made a decision that this is what we're going to do. Whether it be for peace sake, whether it be for whatever sake we think we're doing it, it is a decision. When you deal with this, he's going down to the next one. This is how you know that there was a separation in between the man's encounter and the woman's encounter. See, when you read this stuff back to back, it sounds like everybody was there at the same time. But if he was able to deceive the woman and the man was standing there, he would have had to deceive him too. He was never deceived. That's the difference. If Kish and Eliel standing there, and I deceive Kish, and Eliel standing there and go with it, he had to be deceived too. But if Kish got to talk to Eliel and said, well, no, man, look, it's good for food. He wasn't there doing the deception. Because one had to convince the other. Go ahead.
And Yahweh Elohim said unto the serpent, Because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle.
Now, he is cursed for deceiving the woman. That was his role in this. He didn't deceive the man. Go ahead.
And above every beast of the field, upon your belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. And I'll put enmity between the woman and between your seed. Verse 15, and I'll put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you.
So before there's any law, before there's anything set forth, there's an order in the house. There's an order, and it matches the order of the church that he hasn't even set up yet. Go ahead.
And unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife.
Right. He didn't hearken unto the voice of the serpent. The serpent didn't deceive him. That's not who convinced him. His wife convinced him. The serpent tricked her. She talked her husband into it. So now, his punishment has nothing to do with dealing with the serpent. His punishment got to do with the wife that was given unto him and him listening to her over Yahweh. That's what his punishment has something to do with. See, as Yahweh is going through each one of these situations, he's dealing with each individual and their role in this. And he lets them know what their punishment is for. Go ahead.
Verse 17, and unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you.
I commanded you. I ain't talked to her. I talked to you. I didn't talk to her. I gave you the commandment. You were supposed to give it to her. Go ahead.
Saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, till you return unto the ground. For out of it was you taken, for dust you art, and unto dust shall you return.
So now, even in that verse 19, he has then given us a instruction about burial, because before this time, there was never supposed to be any death. Now, he has to give us some instruction about dying, because sin brings forth death. So at some point, they're going to have to die. So now they have the instruction about death. Let's go to Judges chapter 14. But see, if you just read the portion where it's talking about, husbands love their wives, and I speak this concerning the church. If you don't get right down into that, then you just really are dealing with a portion of that. Judges chapter 14, and let's read verses 10 through 18.
So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young man to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you. If you can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 changes of garments.
Right. You have so many things in here when you're talking about our feast. We have these feast days that are 7 days. You have the price that they gave for the Messiah was 30 shekels. You have so many things that are being dealt with just kind of on the side as you're going through some of these things, because Samson was a judge. Yahweh allowed him to get into some things to bring forth judgment unto these neighboring nations that Israel was having issues with. And the man was exceptionally strong physically. but he was won over by the conversation of his wife. Go ahead.
But if you cannot declare it me, then shall you give me 30 sheets and 30 changes of garments. And they said unto him, Put forth your riddle, that we may hear it. And he said unto them, Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife.
In the Septuagint, that says on the 4th day, not the 7th day, because they still had to have time to go back and forth with her. So this is probably an error where they said the 7th day in verse 15. Go ahead.
Entice your husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn you and your father's house with fire. Have you called us to take that we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him and said, You does but hate me, and love me not.
Oh boy, strong dude about to get weak now. This what makes a strong man shake at the knee. Go ahead.
You have put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and have not told it me. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told it my father nor my mother, and shall I tell it you? And she wept before him the 7 days, while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him. And she told the riddle to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey? And what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, If you had not plowed with my heifer, you had not found out my riddle.
The whole point, they realized that they can't beat him. So they went around him, which is the absolute same thing that the adversary, the devil, did in the garden. He did not go directly at the man. He went around the man to someone else who was strong enough to get to the man. This is the part that is confusing about the power of a woman. That as it is written, it says, give honor unto the woman as the weaker vessel. But the woman has the power to do some things that even the adversary can't do to you. This woman with the power of persuasion, she has been able to do some things that the adversary couldn't do directly himself. And that is something that we have to consider in how we're going to use our power. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 2. First Timothy chapter 2, and let's read verses 11 through 14.
Verse 11. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence.
And there are several ways that can be done. You have first the obvious, when you talk about I suffer not a woman to teach. We have especially Christian congregations that are ran by women. And this goes directly against the Old and the New Testament. But if you try to talk to somebody about that, you end up in a big throwdown, saying that, that's old stuff you're dealing with. How is it old stuff? We almost at the end of the book. How is this old? Am I one of the things I love to hear people say is they say, well, during biblical times. So when were they over? I missed that. When did the biblical times end again? Because I still got stuff in here that ain't happened yet. So I'm trying to figure out when did biblical times end. Go ahead.
For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived.
Once again, the very same thing that we read before. Adam was not standing there when this took place. Man was not standing there. Man was not deceived. Man made a decision, which in turn makes his sin more sinful than ours. getting tricked is one thing. Making a decision when you know it's wrong is altogether different. Go ahead.
But the woman being deceived was in the transgression.
Right. She was the only one deceived in that situation. He was not. Go ahead.
Was it verse 14?
Read verse 15.
Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and love and holiness with sobriety.
So when you look at that, it's very interesting. Read the definition for childbearing.
Childbearing from G5042, technogania, for the same as G5051, childbirth, parentage, that is, by implication, maternity, the performance of maternal duties.
Right. Now, this is interesting when you back it up and look at it. Part of a woman's salvation is connected to the reason Yahweh brought her here. Now, you know, you would always hear women say, well, I gave birth to you and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I had to look at that a total different way after I read this definition. Wait a minute, that was half her salvation right there. She was doing what she was put on this earth to do. Yet in this generation, we got women that don't cook, don't clean, don't know how to do any of those maternal duties. They said, look, I'm an independent woman. I don't need no man. Wait a minute, I think you forgot why you was made, sugar boo-boo. I think you forgetting. She shall be saved. Part of her salvation is connected to the purpose that you were put here. So independent women about to have a hard time. They're about to have a real hard time. Because they don't understand that their salvation is connected to why the woman was placed here. So this is very, very interesting when we look at that. Read this next definition.
Sobriety from G4997, sophrosine from G4998, soundness of mind, that is literally sanity or figuratively self-control, soberness, sobriety.
So if we're then talking about if they continue in faith, love, and holiness with sobriety, there is physical drunkenness and then there's spiritual drunkenness. See, when we go out on the internet and run into all these doctrines, you get spiritually drunk because you start picking up a piece of this, a piece of that, and you can't walk straight. See, if you have one doctrine and you're walking straight, that's a straight walking person. That's the first thing they tell you when they think you're driving under the influence. Get on out here and let me see you walk this line. And when you look, this is the thing they teach you when you're riding a motorcycle. Your hands follow your eyes, whether you know it or not. So you got your hands on the handlebar. And this is what your hands do without knowing it. So you look off at a whole bunch of stuff, you're going to end up at that wall over there because you keep looking at everything. And this is what happened to people. They say, oh, this sounds interesting. Oh, that sounds interesting. Now, look at how you walking. Oh, that person drunk. They have absolutely no sobriety. There's no soundness of mind because they keep picking up another doctrine every 15 days. They got another doctrine. And it's hard to follow that kind of person. Imagine somebody is trying to follow you. And imagine if this is the head of the house, the husband, and he keep grabbing another doctrine and the woman trying to follow you. But she like, man, I really wish you would just walk straight for a little while because it's real hard with all these turns. Because what's 10 steps to that wall is 35, 40 steps if you keep zigging and zagging. Now you're making it very, very difficult for somebody to follow you. Now, consider if you are married to somebody who's not in the Word. You know how difficult you're making it for them? Even if they were thinking about following you. Look at how difficult it's becoming. They don't know how to follow you. You're not walking straight. Go ahead.
1 Corinthians chapter 7.
Yeah. First Corinthians chapter 7, and let's read verses 13 through 17.
Verse 13. And the woman which has an husband that believes not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband.
So you have the opportunity to save one another. So now we're going to see then how this then relates back to Yahshua's church. You have the opportunity to save one another, but how is that going to be done? Go ahead.
Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but Elohim has called us to peace.
Elohim has called us to peace, but we have to consider how we're going to deal with that peace. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 9. See, sometimes we look at peace in the wrong way. Elohim has called us to peace, but yet we have the opportunity to save an unbelieving spouse. Deuteronomy chapter 9, and let's start that at verse 13.
Furthermore, Yahweh spake unto me, saying, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Let me alone, that I may destroy them, and blot out their name from under heaven. And I'll make of you a nation mightier and greater than they.
Right. So Yahweh is at the point where he wants to sever ties with Israel. He is absolutely sick of the back and forth. He is absolutely sick of the faithlessness. Yahweh can show us many miracles. We'll turn around and question him before the miracle is even finished. He's done. He's ready to be out of this relationship. Go ahead.
So I turned and came down from the mount, and the mount burnt with fire, and the 2 tables of the covenant were in my 2 hands. And I looked, and behold, you had sinned against Yahweh your Elohim, and had made you a molten calf. You had turned aside quickly out of the way which Yahweh had commanded you. And I took the 2 tables and cast them out of my 2 hands and break them before your eyes.
Right. See, sometimes when people get into an argument, sometimes they get to throwing stuff. Stuff get to breaking. Now you got Moshe being the intercessor between Yahweh and his wife. But he ain't doing that whispering a bunch of sweet nothings. He's doing that commanding order. Go ahead.
And I fell down before Yahweh as at the first, 40 days and 40 nights. I did neither eat bread nor drink water, because of all your sins which you sinned.
Right. So his fast, 40 days and 40 nights, ain't got nothing to do with him. See, when we fast, it's about something we want. We fast, it's about us. His fast ain't had nothing to do with him. He wasn't in trouble with Yahweh. Yahweh, he was not in any way, shape, form, or fashion in danger of losing his life or position. He put himself in danger for Yahweh's wife, Israel. Go ahead.
In doing wickedly in the sight of Yahweh to provoke him to anger. For I was afraid of the anger and hot displeasure wherewith Yahweh was angry against you to destroy you. But Yahweh hearkened unto me at that time also.
Right. Sometimes situation can get so bad between a husband and a wife and somebody else got to come in and talk. That's called counseling, which we hate to do. But sometimes somebody else got to come talk. Because Yahweh don't want to talk to his wife right now. Moshe, let me talk. And don't nobody talk while I'm talking. Because y'all ain't going to make the situation worse. Go ahead.
And Yahweh was very angry with Aaron to have destroyed him, and I prayed for Aaron also the same time. And I took your sin, the calf which you had made, and burnt it with fire.
Right. Now, folks would be so mad you come home and they done something and you take it outside and set it on fire. This dude is crazy, child. He done came here and set stuff on fire. I got stuff burning in the front yard. The neighbors think all us crazy. He taking care of his business. I got to get rid of this thing that is causing a problem between you and your husband. Go ahead.
And stamped it and ground it very small.
This is not a very good, peaceful situation right here. First he burned it. Then he started stomping on it. Like, is this dude crazy? No, he's doing what he need to do. Go ahead.
Even until it was as small as dust.
And it take a little while to, just keep stepping on something till it turn to dust. So everybody really think you are out of your mind at this point. You're already burnt the stuff, and then you just stomping on it, jumping up and down. Right. Go ahead.
And I cast the dust thereof into the brook that descended out of the mount. And at Taberah, and at Mesa, and at Kibroth Hattaavah, you provoked Yahweh to anger.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, when Yahweh sent you from Kadesh Barnea, saying, Go up and possess the land which I give unto you, then you rebelled against the commandment of Yahweh your Elohim, and you believed him not, nor hearkened to his voice.
Remember where it says, as long as you are not afraid with any amazement? The same Elohim that they saw do all of these miracles, he said, all right, go up there and go get that land. No, I can't. Them people big. They look like, we look like grasshoppers. All of them look like Shaquille O'Neal. We can't go up there. You think Shaquille O'Neal can stop the water? Afraid. With amazement. So now we're not going to do what we're supposed to do. Go ahead.
You have been rebellious against Yahweh from the day that I knew you. Thus I fell down before Yahweh 40 days and 40 nights, as I fell down at the first.
Right. And I tell people, only people I know doing 40-day fast is Yahshua and Moshe. That ain't nothing I'm gonna try. You mess around and your kidneys or something stop on you. This is some different kind of stuff. We talking about both of these have been in the presence of Yahweh himself. This ain't nothing to play with. Most people fast 3 days. We're gonna fast, we're gonna get this over with, we're gonna move on. I'm not gonna fast so much that my kidneys don't remember that it's supposed to be working. We're not gonna do it like that right there, because this is some different level stuff. We're talking about they couldn't even look at Moshe from coming in the presence of Yahweh. This is not a regular man. Go ahead.
Because Yahweh had said he would destroy you. I prayed therefore unto Yahweh and said, O Adonai Yahweh, destroy not your people and your inheritance, which you have redeemed through your greatness, which you have brought forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand.
Now, a lot of us can stand in the breach for somebody who we love and who is saying really nice things to us. He's standing in the breach for a bunch of people who tries to kill him every time he says something that they don't like. You need to understand this about Israel, at least your heart get broke. As things start to happen and Yahweh gets ready to redeem the children of Israel, it ain't finna be some big kumbaya moment where we all gonna hold hands and we gonna sing and we just gonna, oh, it's gonna be wonderful, it's gonna be glorious. No. It's gonna get a lot worse before it get better. Folk gonna turn on each other. Folk gonna start doing all manner of wickedness. Then we'll come together. But it's gonna get much uglier before it gets better. Understand, he's doing all of this. And they're gathering rocks to stone him. And do we have what it takes inside of us to try and save somebody who don't have your best interests at heart at the time that you're trying to save them. Now, they might later on, but not at the time that you're trying to save them. Go ahead.
Verse 27. Remember your servants, Abraham, Esaac, and Jacob. Look not unto the stubbornness of this people, nor to their wickedness, nor to their sin.
Right, and our stubbornness is we just don't want to hear. Especially when we think we got a handle on something. Go ahead.
Lest the land whence you brought us out say, because Yahweh was not able to bring them into the land which he promised them, and because he hated them, he has brought them out to slay them in the wilderness. Yet they are your people and your inheritance, which you brought out by your mighty power and by your stretched out arm. At that time Yahweh said unto me, hew you 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and come up unto me into the mount, and make you an ark of wood. And I'll write on the tables the words that were on the first tables which you breaketh, and you shall put them in the ark.
Now that you've done all of these things, you done slammed stuff down, broke it, set it on fire, stamped it into powder, said what you had to say. Okay, now come back up and I'm going to renew the covenant with my wife. That's afterwards, though. See, what no wine and rose petals and stuff. No. We have to understand what's going to be the order here. Now let's renew our covenant. Go ahead.
You know, if you can envision and look at the situation on a basic level, it's the same thing with the yelling, the shouting, the breaking of furniture and plates and whatever. When it's all said and done, you got to go replace all that stuff.
Exactly. That's your stuff you breaking. You got to go replace these tablets. But hey, the covenant was broke when they decided to deal with the golden calf. The covenant was already broken. And since those were the symbols, the tables of that covenant, let's go ahead and break these. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And I made an ark of shittim wood, and hewed 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and went up into the mount, having the 2 tables in mine hand. And he wrote on the tables, according to the first writing, the 10 commandments, which Yahweh spake unto you in the mount out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly, and Yahweh gave them unto me.
So, and he wrote unto the tables according to the first writing. Ain't nothing changed. The order is not going to change because we got into a little spat or we got into something. We're going to renew the covenant according to the parts that was already set against with the covenant. The covenant not going to change. We're going to renew it, but it's not going to change. Go ahead.
And I turned myself and came down from the mount, and put the tables in the ark which I had made, and there they be, as Yahweh commanded me.
As Yahweh commanded me. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3. Jeremiah chapter 3, and let's start at verse 6.
Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 6. Yahweh said also unto me in the days of Uzziah the king, have you seen that which backsliding Yeshua has done? She is gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree, and there has played the harlot.
Right. We celebrate our Christmas, which is that evergreen tree that we worship. They put the gifts up under the tree, and we got on our knees and went up under the tree to get those gifts. And in our own mind, we wasn't bowing down to the tree. But it's real simple. Although we could get and play with any of the gifts that was in the room, there were always some gifts under the tree that you couldn't open until your mom and daddy got it. And those are things that we receive from one generation to the next. So one way or another, every last one of us had to bow down to that tree. And we would try to stay up all night so we can hurry up and get to them gifts as early as possible. But it was some that you had to wait. They had to see you get on your knees. And we didn't understand that was just being handed down from generation to generation to generation. And Yahweh was angry about it before the Mashiach was ever on the face of this earth. So if somebody said it had something to do with Christ, they lying. He was already angry with it here. Christ ain't born. And he's angry with it. So much and so, he said, don't even put an evergreen tree. Don't put them near my altar. I don't want to see the tree. He the one made the tree. It's his tree. But because of what man did, don't have it near my altar because I don't want nobody to get confused about who is supposed to be worshipped here. Don't bring that tree near my altar. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And I said after she had done all these things, turn you on to me. But she returned not, and her treacherous sister Yehuda saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Yehuda feared not, but went and played the harlot also.
Right. So then you have the nation of Israel that was then split into two nations. You then have the northern and southern kingdom. One is then called Yehuda. The other is called Israel. These two portions of the nation represent the two sisters, Leah and Rachel. So when you deal with that, as those things were happening in the beginning of the book, Yahweh was causing them to live out the prophecies of what Israel would accomplish in their lives. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks.
Right. The stocks were wood. We got the cross, and the stone, of course, is Islam. The asteroid that fell from heaven, the Dome of the Rock is their holiest place. You have the two biggest religions right there in verse 9 that have our people following them. Christianity and Islam has completely taken over our people, and it's all based on what group of people came in and ruled the area where we were. If those people were Muslim, then everybody in that area had to be Muslim. Here, the people who ruled over were Christians. All of our people were raised up here as Christians. At the end of the day, Yahweh gonna bring all of us back to what we're supposed to be. So we look, and because we're accustomed to Christians, it doesn't occur to us that we got Muslim brothers that's got to come out of what they're in to deal with this word. And it's very interesting. You go listen to Farrakhan, he'll sit there and tell you, we are the children of Israel. Yeah, but he's still a Muslim though. And he still deal with the Quran, yet he says black people are true children of Israel. Now how we gonna be both of those? Now we're gonna have to pick one. Because if you are the children of Israel, how you gonna keep dealing with all of the dictates of another faith? And this is not some secret. This is something that was always known. Malcolm X said some of the same things. First Hebrews were black. Who are these people you talking about that are Jews? He said that as a Muslim many moons ago. So Farrakhan knew it before he even began to be popular. But he didn't say nothing about it till 20-some years later. Because that Malcolm X movie was made in the 80s, and they put that in there. Or whenever he put that movie together, that was quite some time ago. I got it on VHS. The kids be like, what is this? Put that down. That's still good. I still use that. Go ahead, bro.
And yet for all this, her treacherous sister Yehuda has not turned on to me with her whole heart, but vainly, says Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto me, The backsliding Israel has justified herself more than treacherous Yehuda. Go and proclaim these words toward the north, and say, Return, you backsliding Israel, says Yahweh, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, says Yahweh, and I will not keep anger forever.
So he has an intercessor to go and speak this to his wife. I am merciful, says Yahweh, and I will not keep anger forever. But there's still some things that has to be corrected. We're not just going to be in error and then say that we're going to be in peace. No, you can't walk how you want to walk and we're still going to be in peace. You're going to have to alter your walk. Then we can be in peace. Go ahead.
Only acknowledge your lawlessness, that you have transgressed against Yahweh your Elohim, and have scattered your ways to the strangers under every green tree, and you have not obeyed my voice, says Yahweh. Turn, O backsliding children, says Yahweh, for I am married unto you.
I am married unto you. So when we deal with all of this, we then see what he's doing, and he has given us a foundation here on the earth that matches his situation with us. Go ahead.
And I'll take you one of a city and two of a family, and I'll bring you to Zion, and I'll give you pastures according to mine heart.
He gonna bring us where?
Zion.
See, what we were told on Sunday morning is that we was all going to heaven. See, true peace for Israel is to be in your own land, living amongst your own people, and worshiping and serving your own Elohim. Not worshiping somebody else's God and being ruled over by somebody else's people. See, we have no idea what true peace is. What happens is we have found peace in the middle of this turmoil, and we think that that's peace. No, true peace is your land never leaves your family, ever. Never. We've gotten so accustomed to the strange things that happen here in the daughter of Babylon that we don't even call them strange anymore. 200-300 years later, one of my family go over to Eliel's house, they're going to run into Eliel's family. Because that land will not leave his people. Go ahead.
And I'll give you pastures according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
Right. Did you finish that?
Verse 15. Yes.
All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 10. Matthew chapter 10. And let's start that at verse 32.
Verse 32. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. Think not that I'm come to send peace on the earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword.
Right, because this word is the sword of Yahweh our Elohim, and it divides. This is the thing that's going to cause that division, the sword of this word. And if the sword of this word causes a division, then it is a necessary division. Go ahead.
For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
Right. And what's going to do that? When you start walking the way you're supposed to walk, it is going to drive a wedge in between those very people that you were close to. And sometimes that's even the closest of your relationships. Because they've already said in their heart how they want to deal with you. And they don't want to alter that.
Me and you used to hang out and eat pork chops together. So now you done found your new little god. Now you don't want to eat pork chops. Me and you used to get together and we smothered and covered. That's what we do. And what you doing is you messing up our relationship.
Our what? Our relationship. What? I messed up the relationship? Right. They've gotten accustomed to how they deal with you, and you are altering that. This is what drives that wedge. It's a necessary wedge then. You have to consider some things. When you go back and read the things about Abraham, Yahweh went on a different level with him every time he separated him from his family. He went on one level when he separated him from his daddy. His daddy died. Yahweh, all right, let's talk. Then he raised his nephew, Lot, took him on as his own. Yahweh caused them to grow so much that they separated. As soon as Lot went his way, all right, Abraham, let's talk again. Every time he got away from his family, Yahweh went on a whole nother level with that covenant. Because there's one thing he knows. Some of us have ties so strong that we're going to end up either trying to give those people our blessing, which is going to end up causing Yahweh to serve us in our sin. Because he do something for you, and then you're going to give it to the heathen. Now, Yahweh like, okay, now you just put me in a bad situation now. I gave you something, you turn around and gave it to them. But this is my mama. Yeah, but your mama worship the devil. I gave this blessing to you. So what am I blessing that again? I left it. Okay. Where you at, bro?
Verse 36. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household.
A man's foes shall be they of his own household. When you talk about a woman shall not usurp authority over a man, we know about the part about teaching. But when you deal with that power of persuasion that a woman has, if she uses that the wrong way, she has also usurped authority over her husband, over the man. Go ahead.
He that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me.
Uh-huh.
And he that loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
You know, it's interesting that you don't find that level within a husband and wife when he goes through these things. Now, what's interesting is they're supposed to be one. So it should be very difficult to divide something that has joined together in the correct way. It's one. You can't divide something that's already one. Did it join together correctly, though? That's the question. Go ahead.
And he that takes not his cross and follows after me is not worthy of me. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loses his life for my sake shall find it.
Right. And you find people that they say, you know, I'm going to come to church as soon as I get myself together. I'm gonna deal on a stronger level with the church stuff as soon as I get my life together. And they spend every bit of all their time, energy, and money getting their life together, and they ain't never together. And the adversary toying with you. Because you're going in the wrong order. You take care of the things concerning the kingdom, and then you watch as your life starts being put together bit by bit and step by step. If you think you're going to get it together, or if you thought you had it together when you walked in the door, I can tell you, you're the most confused person in here. You bring all your little pieces with you. Don't worry about it. He'll put them in there. It ain't gonna happen next week. But you bring all your little pieces with you. Yahweh will figure out where they go. Go ahead.
You know, just to read verse 38, and it says, and he that takes not his burdens, if we don't understand that word cross, he that takes not his burdens and follow after me is not worthy of me. And it's like he's saying, No, take your problems. Get with him, and then he'll take care of the problems. But
No,
you
we
got
trying to hide the problem. See, we trying to hide the problem.
I ain't got no problem. Who got a problem? I ain't got no problem. I'm straight.
Go in the parking lot and cry for 15 minutes before we pull off. So you just spent 4 hours in there pretending? It said confess your faults one to another. How your brother gonna know or your sister gonna know what to pray about while you pretending you don't have an issue? Because let's say you've gotten yourself so dirty with your Elohim that he ain't gonna hear your prayer. So now you have zero opportunity of help. Because while you walking around pretending like you don't have no problem, Yahweh might hear his prayer. But he can't pray for you because he don't know you have no issue. Because you just went in there and been fake smiling for 4 hours to him.
How you doing, kids? Shabbat shalom. Yeah.
Right. How he gonna pray for you? He can't pray for you. He don't even know you got an issue. And that's us. That's why we can't fully get no help. That's why you see people 3 Passovers later, they still got same issues. And some things gonna take a little longer to work out. But they should at least be a big problem. When you got a little old bitty problem and that little bitty problem done lasts about 3 Passovers, there's something seriously wrong. Go ahead, bro.
I just wanted to, add on to, when you consider the fact of when you can confess your faults onto your brother or your sister,
Mm-hmm.
you got to consider those that are in the walk, the spiritual walk. And when you deal with someone who's your carnal, you can't just deal with somebody who's carnal-minded
Mm-hmm.
and go to them with spiritual things. So you have to consider who you're going to confess those faults.
That's an interesting point, brother. And what he was saying was consider who you're going to when you're confessing those faults. But brother, we'll deal with the heathen with our issues a lot of times before we deal with anybody within the word, because it doesn't allow us to present that face if we confess it to one another. See, we can still present that face if we talk to the heathen. See, the heathen not gonna come in here. So we can go and tell the heathen all kind of stuff. We ain't worry about him because he's not gonna come in here. The problem is the heathen can't pray for you. You think the heathen going, oh please, oh Lucifer, please bless this child of Yah. You're like, man, don't talk to me about this, child. You talk to Yahweh about that. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Lucifer don't care nothing about you. He's not going to bless you no more. You have already stepped away from Lucifer's family. Matter of fact, he might take a few things from you on the way out. Give me this. I gave you that. So if you're looking for a blessing from Lucifer's family, you in for a rude awakening. But for us to be able to pray for one another, you have to consider when we do our foot washing, these things come directly out of this book. Yeshua did that with his disciples. He said, do you know what I've done unto you? Do we even consider that when we go through these things of foot washing, that we are renewing and regenerating one another? To be spiritually clean, before they had to do some things and sacrifice an animal and then wait. Yeshua said, just wash your feet and you're clean. This is what we're doing to one another. So this is more than just some ritual thing that we're about to take part in a couple of days. Go ahead.
Verse 39. He that finds his life shall lose it, and he that loses his life for my sake shall find it.
Right. The ones who put their things in order. See, the ones who think that they're going to take care of their life and then they're going to deal with Yahweh, they ain't never going to get it together. The ones who going to deal with Yahweh ends up finding their life start to line up. Go ahead.
He that receives you receives me, and he that receives me receives him that sent me. He that receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward, and he that receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And whosoever shall give to drink one of these little ones a cup of cold water only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward.
He shall in no wise lose his reward. So then consider the harlot who did right by the Israelite spies. Did she lose her reward? She's a harlot. She didn't follow according to the things that were written in this book. But she did right by the right people. Now, she couldn't continue being a harlot after that. That decision had to be made. But remember, everybody that was in there was supposed to die. That's salvation already in itself. Everybody where you at supposed to die. But because you did right by Israel, you shall in no wise lose your reward. So consider what it is that we do to one another. If we are the apple of his eye, do not believe that you are more of an apple than the person sitting next to you. And that's what ends up happening. We want Yahweh to do something to them. Wait a minute now. If both of y'all the apple of his eye, you think he gonna hurt an apple to appease an apple? That's something that we have to consider there. Let's go to Exodus chapter 4.
Exodus chapter 4 and verse 18. And Moshe went and returned to Jethro his father-in-law, and said unto him, Let me go, I pray you, and return unto my brethren which are in Egypt, and see whether they be yet alive. And Jethro said to Moshe, Go in peace. And Yahweh said unto Moshe in Midian, Go, return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought your life. And Moshe took his wife and his sons, and set them upon an ass, and he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moshe took the rod of Elohim in his hand. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, When you go to return into Egypt, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go.
Right. So take all of these miracles and all of the things that I have given you. You shall perform all of these things because you are going to go and get my people out of this place. Go ahead.
And you shall say unto Pharaoh, Thus says Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. And I say unto you, Let my son go, that he may serve me. And if you refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay your son, even your firstborn.
And most people have no idea that this is who we are named after. We are not called Yahwehites. We are called Israelites. We are named after Yahweh's son. This is why he never even gave us the name Yahweh until we were already established as a nation of people. El is holy. Elohim is the plural form of El. This is Israel. So while we're looking at trying to think about blaspheming Yahweh's holy name, we don't consider that we blaspheme the holy name of Israel. That's something that just goes right by us. Go ahead.
And it came to pass by the way in the inn that Yahweh met him and sought to kill him.
So Yahweh tells him about the miracles, and then immediately he is then in a position to kill him. Go ahead.
Then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet.
Stop. Between verse 24 and verse 25, it's a hell of an argument that took place. And it came to pass by the way of the end that Yahweh met him and sought to kill him. Now, he already know what the issue is. He know exactly what the issue is. Verse 25, then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son. These were kids born from another nation, from a woman from another nation. She did not like the circumcision. But for him to be the intercessor in his house, he had to do something that his wife was not pleased about. And if he didn't take care of this business, Yahweh was going to take care of him. Look at who Yahweh sought to kill. Now, she was the one that didn't like the circumcision. You notice Yahweh didn't pull her aside and said he sought to kill Zipporah. No. That's not who he was going to kill. No, you, head of the house. Come here, let me talk to you. Now, think about how confusing that is, that he just put you on a mission and told you how blessed you are and that you're going to do all these miracles. And you're going to do all these miracles in front of everybody. But by the way, I'm about to kill you. Because you know this business that you should have taken care of. We done got as far as we're going to get without you taking care of that business. Now go take care of it. And he didn't care what nobody thought about it. Being an intercessor don't mean you're going to be always liked. And you may have to be an intercessor for one another, going back and forth. One week, the wife may have to be the intercessor for her husband. Next week, he may have to be an intercessor for her. This thing may go back and forth. But if we continue to walk, we walk and help one another for the better of our whole family. Go ahead.
And cast it at his feet and said, surely a bloody husband are you to me.
Right. So all the details, the Bible spared you all the details about this argument. But it lets you know that she was ticked off. You a bloody husband. Now, he's following what Yahweh wants him to do. Her anger is at him. But if you take the other part out of context when it says Yahweh has called us to peace, believe it or not, this is peace. Wait a minute. The husband and the wife arguing. How's that peace? Because we walking on one accord with Yahweh's word. That is peace. Go ahead.
So he let him go.
There you go. So he let him go. You see the peace? I'm still living, baby. It's peace. He let me live. This is peace. Guess what? We get to disagree another day. See, if you win this one, I die. This is the last argument we're going to have, sugar. No. This is peace. Guess what? I get to take care of you tomorrow. This is peace. I get to go and provide for my family another day. This is peace. I get to go bring home a little worm for these little chicklets over here. This is peace. But if I seek fake peace and he kill me, where does that leave you? Go ahead.
Then she said, a bloody husband are you because of the circumcision.
Right. That's one thing you'll know about a woman. She when she get to that point that she wants you to know. She wants you to know. She went all the way in, you're a bloody husband. And I'm going to tell you why. I want to make sure you know that I don't like this. But this wasn't her culture. This was a strange thing. This is why Yahweh said in the beginning, marry you like-minded people. Be you not unequally yoked. But understand there's certain things that happened before we knew the word. Just like now. We are already married. You know, there are people that came in the word, they had already made their decision before they knew the culture. So I give the individuals who came in here married and working through their issues, they get much more props from me than people who decided to get married in the word and then got a problem. Wait a minute. You knew the word when you married that person. Why you the one always argue? See, the people who came into this, they came into it with the people who they with before we knew any truth. And we rearrange what we got to rearrange according to the word. That is honorable. But if you knew the truth and still made a bad decision, I don't know what to tell you. That's something you're going to have to go back and figure out. Go ahead, brother. Did you finish that?
No. Verse 27. And Yahweh said to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moshe. And he went and met him in the mount of Elohim and kissed him. And Moshe told Aaron all the words of Yahweh who had sent him and all the signs which he had commanded him.
All right. Let's go to James chapter 5. James chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 13 through 20. See, Moshe understood how to get true peace in his house. And it wasn't dealing with where the noise was coming from. See, it appeared that the noise was coming from the unhappy woman. So he could have sought to just appease her. That was only going to be temporary peace. True peace came from pleasing Yahweh. The rest of that stuff is going to work itself out. But if he pleased her, he was going to have a serious problem with Yahweh, and that wasn't going to work itself out. Your problem with Yahweh don't work itself out. You're going to have to work that out. The rest of that stuff will work itself out. James chapter 5, and let's start that at verse 13.
Is any among you afflicted? Let him pray. Is any merry? Let him sing psalms. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him.
Okay, so they praying over him because he has told them about the issue that he's having. That ain't what we do. We're going to seek it out on our own. I got this. I'm going to take care of this myself. Right, and that's why they never going to get taken care of. Go ahead.
Anointing him with oil in the name of Yahshua. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick.
Right, so that's somebody else's prayer, not yours. But I got this. I ain't going to tell nobody. Don't nobody need to know what I got going on. I got this. Right, keep getting it. Go ahead, bro.
And the Adonai shall raise him up. And if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him.
Uh-huh.
Confess your faults one to another.
Same thing we read from Yahshua. But that means you got to come out of that little private place to have that taken care of. But that means you got to put pride in the back seat. Because see, when pride in the front seat, it try to direct where you going. Turn right here. Shut up, pride. I'm driving this car. Slow down. Ain't that worse than having that passenger seat drive. Turn right here. Why you going so fast? Turn the music down. Shut up. Now you done missed your turn. And some turns you can't just fix that. It's another 20 minutes I got to ride down that road because I done missed this turn. I can't just turn around anywhere now. Go ahead.
And pray one for another, that you may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much.
Right. Even the one who said, give me this gift that whoever I lay hands on, that they can receive this gift of the Holy Ghost or whatever it was he was talking about. He said, man, your heart not right. Because you thought that you can buy the gift of Elohim. Even the man whose heart wasn't right, he had sense enough to say, you pray for me. Not us. Now I got this. Right. Even the wicked man knew, hey man, pray for me. That these things that you're talking about won't come upon me. Go ahead.
Elias was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it might not rain. And it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth, and one convert him, let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his ways shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins.
So if you have the opportunity to save a soul from death and hide a multitude of sins, it's worth any little small argument that you may encounter to save a soul. Or do we want to save a soul and be comforted while we're doing it? But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6. See, when we consider all of the things that Yeshua had to do for us, do you think he was being comforted? Or you think he was very uncomfortable while he was saving the children of Israel? You think being tortured is a comforting place? Wasn't like he just died. No. They took their time in torturing him. You think he was comfortable while he was saving Israel? So we want to be an intercessor. We want to save. We want to help do our part to bring forth the kingdom of Elohim, but we want complete comfort while doing so. How does that work? Go ahead, bro.
At one point, Yeshua wanted Yahweh to take the cup from him. But, he knew what was supposed to become of him. He needed to do.
Sometimes, bro, when you see how hard that work is,
Yeah.
see, from the beginning, he knew he had to die, to bring forth righteousness unto Israel. I think when he started seeing those people and said, I know about the death part, but they look like they're finna drag this death out. That's that part where you start saying, wait a minute, is there any other way? Because he realized at this point, he's not just finna die. He's about to be tortured. That is something completely different from death. You look at the people who trying to commit suicide, they trying to do it right away, fast, in a hurry, let this be over with. They ain't trying to drag it out. At some point, he realizes how bad this is about to be. And I mean, when you get down to that wire, and none of us think that we're going to, we have in our minds how we're going to deal with things until it happens. I've heard some people talk big and bad until that day they get on that deathbed. And I'm telling you, every last one that I've ever seen changes when they get on that deathbed. Oh, but they talk. They talk. You try to talk to somebody, oh, they got it. Oh, yeah, I got this. Blah, blah, blah. When they get there and that breath goes, and they can't fully breathe, and they know they about to go, everything changes. And everybody seems tough until they know that they about to have their last breath. Why wait for that? Matthew chapter 6, and let's start at verse 25.
Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, or what you shall drink, nor yet for your body, what you shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment? Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they? Which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit onto his stature? And why take you thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you, that even Shlomo in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Wherefore, if Elohim so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or wherewithal shall we be clothed?
You have to consider at times, those 2 times that Yahshua sent the disciples out. The one time he said, take no script. Take, don't take a weapon. Don't take a sword with you. Next time, all right, that ain't about to change. Take your sword. So, at certain parts of this walk, the direction changes. And we have to be ready for when that direction changes. And understanding all of the things that are going to have to happen for the redemption of the children of Israel, we can't just wake up one day and we are redeemed. That's not how this is going to happen. Yahweh has got to get him some glory over the whole earth. So these people are playing their role in the redemption of the children of Israel and have no idea that that's what they're doing. The people who were leading Yahshua to be crucified, they didn't know what they were doing. Why you think he said, forgive them for they know not what they do? They believe one thing. Yehudas, because he let that demon enter into him, he thought he was right the whole time. Why do you think afterwards he want to get the money back? He said, no, we can't take this money. No. But I've betrayed an innocent man. Why you didn't know that the whole time you were doing it? What caused you to not know that you were betraying an innocent man the entire time? My way. It felt good to me. It felt right to me. Go ahead.
Verse 32. For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you have need of all these things. But seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added on to you.
Seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, not our own. Seek his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. If we go in the righteous order. But you know what we'll do? We'll drop the things of Yahweh our Elohim so we can do more physical things. So no, I don't have time to deal with these things of Yahweh. I got some personal stuff I want to deal with over here. And wonder why your issues drag out. Right, you told Yahweh you didn't have no more time for him. Because I need some more me time. And that's what he gave you. Some more me time. Go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof.
All right, that's all that we're going to do for today. Yah's will, we will truly search our hearts and consider, that each year there should be some kind of growth. I know we'll always be growing. We'll always, there'll always be issues. It's not like we're ever going to be in a position where we are without issue, but we should be able to look back at the year before and see some type of growth that we've had from one year to another. There's a reason why, you look and you can see your children from one year to the next. They know some things that they didn't know the year before. But the same thing should be in the case with us, that we have not only known some things physically that we didn't know before, but we deal with some things spiritually on a greater level than what we were dealing with before. I also want to remind people that this coming week there will not be a Bible study because we will be preparing for Passover the following day. So there will not be a Bible study. And we also have a baptism that Wednesday for people who are, there are some individuals that are trying to get their baptism before Passover. So we are making some changes so that we can make that happen. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.